We are live. We are here. Yay. Okay, we're starting. It's happening. I am here, you guys, with Josee of Roots and Fruits Wellness, and I'm so freaking excited you are here. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So let's jump right in. Let's talk about your biz. Give us a little rundown. What do you do, Josee? Tell everybody what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a holistic nutritional consultant.
Okay.
That's my role. So I help people with their nutrition with a holistic kind of philosophy, and then I use something called live blood analysis in order to better direct my suggestions for individuals because everyone's different. So I really don't try and do like cookie cutter approaches for people when they're wanting to clean from the inside out because what's going on in your body is different than mine. So the blood allows us to see kind of what's going on, and then I support them through nutrition changes, supplements, and lifestyle stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So the name itself, like Roots and Fruits, can you dive into like the origin of the name? Where did that come from?
Yeah, well, it actually started with my short-lived career in competitive figure skating. And as I was training, I think there's a lot of emphasis on jumping in figure skating, and people get really frustrated when they fall. And that's what I was kind of going through. And my coach said something to me along the lines of like, let's break down the jump into different components and celebrate if you like just do this one little piece of technique. Don't worry about the landing. And I kind of got this picture in my head of like, oh, those are the roots underneath kind of what we see. You could also view it as an iceberg, but I like the tree analogy. And so that really got me through my skating, and I improved a lot with that mindset. So then as I, retired from that and moved on in my life, it was kind of a natural name for me for my wellness business because I think it's really applicable to people. There's roots beneath the fruits that you see in your life, and I really want to find some sort of like striking a chord with both. It's not just the fruits, it's not just the roots. There's a relationship between them, and that's why I chose the name.
I love it.
Yeah.
So would you say from an outsider's perspective, it's kind of like you're not just fit, like from what I'm seeing aesthetically, but you're also healthy on the inside. So the inside would be the roots and the external would be the fruits, I guess?
Kind of like that. I mean, it could be a bunch of different things. There can be emotional roots, there can be spiritual roots, there can be biological, genetic, right? There's all these different components. And fruits, therefore, could be aesthetics. It could be things that we see, or it could be things like mental health. Like something like anxiety can be a fruit of different roots that are off chemically, right? So it's not just aesthetics, but that does apply, yes.
Okay. So it's not just talking about seeds and roots and supplements and fruit. It's so much more than that.
Yeah.
So what gave you the desire to be like, this is what I want to do? So you're a figure skater, and then there's this lap of time, and now you open this wellness practice. So what led you up to that?
Yeah. I would say largely my own journey with my health.
Okay.
So, like, even prior to competitive figure skating, ever since I was a kid, I had digestive issues. And I think I didn't really have a holistic mindset growing up. And so you go to the doctor and they tell you what's wrong and you go on your merry way. So I got diagnosed with IBS when I was young. And right from that moment, I was like, this is weird because this is just a set of symptoms. So, like, what's actually the problem?
And that's what IBS is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just like, we don't know what's wrong with you, but there's a lot of shit going on. So we're going to say
you're not going on.
Yeah.
Depending on which way you go.
You're just irritable.
Yeah, exactly. And so I really felt dissatisfied with that. So I kind of went the holistic route, like right from, I think I was 13. I saw a naturopath, saw a nutritionist, chiro, all these things. And it really opened my eyes to see, oh, I'm not crazy. And that's what I see a lot with my clients too. And so anyway, not to get off track, but that's kind of why I got into it, is because I felt validated. I felt like, oh, there's actually things that are wrong with me that we can work on, and also seeing progress then versus like, oh, I have IBS. It's like a life sentence. It's like, okay, I'm just going to live with this. And then I see people who feel really discouraged and hopeless, but there's so much hope. And I actually would never say that I have IBS.
I was going to ask you, did you navigate it?
I think part of it was my mentality with it. I never really agreed with it. I was like, sure, you just diagnosed me with this, but I'm not going to take that on. Like, I'm going to get to the root of it. And I did. And it's ongoing. Like, I think our health journeys are always ongoing. We never arrive. But my experience with multiple practitioners throughout probably the course of 10 years, I think me going into nutrition and a holistic philosophy with it was kind of just a natural like outpouring of what was poured into me.
Okay, so people in your life would be like, okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, she did this.
Yeah, totally.
So what kind of credentials or what kind of education, what did you have to do to be able to do what you do?
Yeah, so diploma in holistic nutrition, there's multiple schools in Canada that offer it. I did one out of BC, it was all online. And so I got my diploma in applied nutrition, so I did multiple courses in sports nutrition, vegetarian nutrition, like family nutrition, so infants, prenatal, all that stuff. Multiple other courses like anatomy, physiology, all the basics. And then once I got that, I was like, okay, I'm going to start practicing. But I felt limited. I was like, anyone can go research their symptoms and talk through things and get suggestions. But how are you actually going to figure out like bio-individuality with each person? And that's where the live blood analysis comes in. And I had that done when I was younger by my naturopath. And I found the visual feedback very, very helpful because, I mean, the first time I'm like, I don't know what this means. I don't know what to compare this to. But then, 3 months later, 6 months later, seeing the improvements, I was like, that is awesome. And
I love data.
Yes! And it really like pumped me up to keep doing the changes, right? Because a lot of it's lifestyle change, dietary change, and those things can be hard for people. And when you're just like, good job, there's not much motivation.
I think I feel better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So seeing, like, I have clients that come back and they see the visual feedback, and that's exactly why I wanted to do it. So it's really rewarding to see that that's kind of working, and that's what people are looking for.
Okay, so it's not a life sentence when you get your blood analysis results back.
No.
I'll remind myself that, you guys, in like a hot minute when we go through my results.
Yeah.
So who would you say is like, this is my ideal client? Like someone who's coming to me, I'm kind of putting it out to the universe, like these are the people that I really want to help. Is there a certain, I don't know, prototype of person that you're like, that's my people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I will help anyone.
Yeah.
So disclaimer, I had an 8.5-month-old the other day, and I have an 85-year-old client. So I mean, there's like,
awesome.
But my ideal client would be burnt out women who feel hopeless in their health. Women who've tried all the things. They're like, I'm trying the supplements, I'm trying the dietary changes, I've seen this person, I've seen that person, and I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. That's my ideal client. Because I feel like both what I offer with the blood analysis and the way that I do consulting, I really try and be relational. So lots of practitioners don't have the time or the margin to like check in with their clients every week or be available over email all the time. And I think that's a really helpful thing when you're like feeling hopeless and wanting to change, is having that consistent relationship, that support. I feel like my role often is a cheerleader or a counselor.
Yeah, like you're coaching.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
For sure.
And then with the blood, it's again, sometimes it's answers. Like I have this exact ideal client. A lot of my clients are this prototype, and they come in and they feel after the first appointment so validated. They're like, oh wow, like I knew something was off, but no one would tell me what it was. And the doctor did blood work and said it's normal, and not to like discount what doctors do or what other practitioners do, but it is very unique what we can see under the microscope. And I think that if you are feeling hopeless and a bit lost in terms of what supplements to take and stuff like that, this can be a really good way to be intentional and target knowing why you're taking things.
For sure.
So yeah.
This isn't traditional blood work, guys. So it's different. She's not taking blood and sending it off to a lab. Mm-hmm. She's looking at it, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot different, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. So what type of issues, other than like, I feel burnt out, like what would be would it be IBS? Would it be Crohn's? Would it be like, what are the issues people tend to come to you with when they're like, I'm exhausted with this, or I've been diagnosed with this?
Yeah. Honestly, it varies.
Okay.
I'd say for women especially, like a lot of women are coming in just feeling unwell and feeling like they just want to give it a shot.
Yeah.
But like mental health is a big one for sure. People wanting to improve their mental health, whether or not they have like a diagnosed disorder or whether they're just feeling off, that can be a big one. I think people are starting to catch on to the power of nutrition and the power of alternative medicine.
About time.
Yeah. And so I think genuinely I have people who are just like curious and hungry, like how can I be healthier, which I love, because when I have that type of person, they're typically very responsive and wanting to make changes.
Yes.
I do have the odd person that comes in just wanting me to fix them, and unfortunately I can't do that. So
yes.
But yeah, I see it all. Yeah.
So things like you kind of referenced, like at a young age, I was seeing a naturopath. Like for myself personally, I love acupuncture. Mm-hmm. I've done chiro. I've done IV vitamin therapy. Like I like the Western medicine practices, and the Eastern medicine practices, and I've seen them be beneficial in my own life. Mm-hmm. I think, though, that some people feel like Western medicine is the way to go. Like, they're still in that phase. Mm-hmm. Do you get that type of pushback because this isn't a Western medicine philosophy or approach? Do you feel like you have to defend yourself or defend your practice or, like, persuade people that, like, hey, this is valid. These are my interpretations. Yes, these results matter. Just because your doctor didn't do them doesn't mean these don't have validity. Like, what do you say to those people?
Yeah, I think client-wise, I don't have a lot of that, but I'm definitely careful who I tell what I do. Like,
well, too late.
You know, I know now. It's up there. They're coming for me.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know, if I'm at the ER, like, I remember being there with my son for something, and, you know, like, they're pricking him, and I was, like, going to tell her, like, how to prick better. I'm like, wait, I shouldn't because I'm not a nurse, and they might get mad at me, and they might be, like, shut me down. So I think we're always, like, on edge, but I think it's really sad, and something that I've been aware of in myself is my own judgment towards Western medicine. And so I kind of had this revelation after Western medicine saved my life this year at one point. I like had a kidney infection and went septic and like had to just go to emerge, get antibiotics, and it saved my life, you know? Like if I tried to do homeopathics at that point, it would not have been good.
Right.
And I think that really woke me up to be like, oh man, I have judgments too. So it's like before I get mad at other people for being skeptical about me, I want to work on how I talk about them and how we can work together. And like, unfortunately, lots of holistic practitioners and lots of medical doctors don't like each other or don't want to work together. I have some clients who have amazing doctors in Lethbridge who are open to like, you know, them sharing their results or me looking at their blood work, and that's ideal. And
it's not one or the other. It's both.
We need both, right? And we both have a place. And I truthfully think that what I do can, for the large majority of people, I think it can take a burden off the medical system. I think that we can, like, there's so much power in even just holistic nutrition to help alleviate a very taxed medical system.
Like, half our freaking population right now in Lethbridge doesn't even have a family doctor. So you can't even get blood work done without sitting in the ER, and that's crashing. So,
right. And, you know, if there's something very serious going on, then, like, that's when that's helpful. But I wonder, like, I haven't seen the stats, but based on just, like, anecdotal evidence, I wonder how many people are going to their family doctor because they don't have energy, or because they're feeling a little blue, or because they're having digestive issues. And that's all things that we can work on. And you know what? I'm not saying don't go to the doctor, but let's start and see what we can do first. And if you're still having issues, I will always refer out if I see something or feel like, hey, it might be a good idea to just go run a blood panel with your MD, get their opinion.
Right.
But most of the time that doesn't happen because they feel better. So
woohoo! Yeah. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Okay, so you offer 2 services when you're coaching people. Oh, many services, but the ones I want to talk about today, specifically blood analysis, which we kind of touched on, as well as cycle syncing. So those are the 2 things I want to dive deeper into.
Sure.
So can we start by giving a little bit more insight into, like, what is the blood analysis and what exactly, so someone comes in, they get their blood taken, you put it under a microscope, what are you looking for?
Yeah, lots of things. So essentially, it's visual feedback. So I'm making observations. It's important to say that I don't diagnose. Sometimes people are confused. They're like, what's that? And they want me to diagnose them. And I'm like, I can't.
Right.
But what we're looking for are different indications of microbial and or nutritional imbalance. So if there's, you know, too many bad guys like bacteria, fungus, parasites, again, I'm not going to diagnose, but I address it and I'll be like, we need to do something to kill if there's too many bad guys. Or nutritional imbalances, so like deficiencies, B12, iron, zinc, vitamin C, there's lots of things we can see. Someone's not eating enough fat, someone's not eating enough protein, or someone's eating too much fat, or someone's eating too much protein. We can kind of look at all of that.
Wow.
And then also the big thing that I like to look for is how your digestion is going. So is your digestion compromised? We can see that through actual undigested stuff in the blood, which is why I tell people to come in fasted. And then just different kind of indications of how the cells will take shape, what pattern they end up in can show us kind of how you're breaking down nutrients, how you're assimilating them, if they're actually making it to your cells. So you can like eat really healthy, but if your digestion's compromised, your cells aren't going to look great because they're not getting what they need. That makes sense.
You can see a lot in one little prick.
Yeah, that's
Holy.
Right. Yeah.
So what would be some common things that you're like, this seems to come up more frequently? Like, these are the things that, like, I see half the time or something or more.
Liver function, for sure. So, like, people's livers are stressed, and that is something I see very often, probably because we just live in a toxic world, because we don't know how to take care of our liver. There's no real education around your liver. It's like when people have a tummy ache, they're like, I have a tummy ache. It's like, well, is it a tummy ache or is your liver stressed, right? So like it's a big part of your digestion, and your GI tract has many moving parts, and the liver is one of them. So it's not just, you know, if you're nauseous, it's not just I have a tummy ache. Your liver is probably stressed. So that's something I see a lot visually in the blood and work on a lot with clients.
And if you were seeing it visually, what would it look like?
There's a few different ways. So one of the ways is your cells will be misshapen. There's a couple particular shapes that are like very specific to liver congestion. And so the reason that happens is the cell is supposed to be circular, and the bilipid membrane essentially means it's made up of essential fatty acids. So if someone's not digesting fat, they're not getting kind of the strength in their cell that they need to keep that circular shape. And what's one of the main key players in digesting fat is the liver. And so that's kind of how that works. Other things would be there's something that we see in the blood that kind of looks like scratch marks, and that shows us that your liver is potentially inflamed.
Okay.
So yeah, those are a couple ways we would see it, as well
Amazing.
as undigested fat or actual chemical breakdown. Like we'll see chemical debris, and that doesn't always mean that your liver is congested, but often it does, because your liver also processes that and it helps you detox. So
Everyone's like, I need her to look at my blood. What's going on with me?
Yes.
So, flip side of that, what would be like some of the worst things you could see? Where it's like, these don't come across very frequently, but it has, and I kind of pick my jaw up off the floor and be like, is that fucking real? Like, is there anything that's major concern that people are hoping you don't see when you look at their blood?
Yeah, a couple of things come to mind. There's a few, I won't get into all the science behind it, but there's a few indications of like metabolic waste. So it kind of looks like a big metal rod in the blood. And I have seen a couple, and people are like, what is that? You know?
Right.
And again, I have to be careful, but essentially it's a red flag. It's like,
Okay.
hey, we need to clean up your insides soon.
Okay.
Otherwise, you know, if you're not like eliminating whatever that is, there's different theories around what it actually is.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it's not supposed to be there. So
100%.
that's kind of like how I look at it, is like, okay, that's just a little warning sign that we gotta you gotta take this seriously. The other thing would be your white blood cells. So we all have white blood cells. I see them in everyone's blood. But the odd time I'll see like an alarming amount. And there was actually, in one instance, I sent my client to her doctor, and I said, you should probably just go get that counted, get that checked. And she called me a couple months later and was like, hey, like, thank you so much. They actually found something wrong with me, and I wouldn't have known to go get blood work if you hadn't have told me.
Wow.
So that's another cool example of how we can work together. But also,
Yes.
that's like kind of an alarming thing too, is just like, oh, okay, like something's going on here.
So say, okay, just random question. Say someone had like cancer and they came to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be able to maybe be like, oh, something looks wrong here?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, probably with both the things I just said.
Okay,
Yeah.
what about if someone was like pregnant and they didn't tell you they were pregnant? Would you be like, this person might
Yeah.
be pregnant? There's so many blood cells, like their blood volumes
Yeah.
through the roof. Like, would you see those things, do you think?
Yes, there's actually, so we've been talking about live blood. There's also something I do usually with clients called dry blood.
Okay.
So same prick of blood, and we just let it dry out a little bit, and then we like tap the slide, and the cells are dead. So the live blood, they're alive, but the dead kind of sample is crazy because it dries, and I don't actually understand how it all works, but it is blowing my mind every day because there's certain patterns that show up with different things. There's actually one that shows like reproductive inflammation, and literally if you're pregnant, you always have that. So my instructor for the live blood analysis course like told me a story, and she did the blood of this woman, and she's like, are you pregnant? And she said no, and she called her a week later and she's like, I'm pregnant. So like I haven't had that happen yet. I did my own when I was pregnant, and I sure had that.
Cool.
But yeah, that's one thing for sure. And then also with the live blood, when you're pregnant, it tends to just be a lot messier. Your body is just really busy and has different priorities. So like, yeah, the liver congestion's common, like seeing a lot of undigested food, because let's be honest, like when we're pregnant, our diet changes.
For sure.
And so yeah, there's
So
definitely.
like, I could probably tell you can't fool me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Do you find then, like, so someone comes in, they're super fit. We kind of talked about this at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Their physical appearance, they look healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Does that always correlate with, oh, their blood looks healthy too? Or do you ever find people come in and they look really healthy and you're like, you're a fucking mess? Or vice versa. Someone comes in, not saying they look like a fucking mess, but they don't physically look like the epitome of health and fitness, you know? And then you find out, like, wow, you're clear, you're good, you're very healthy on the inside. Or do you find that usually physical appearance and internal health are matching?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I would say you're onto something with the first thing there. Like, whether it is physical fitness, physical appearance, or energy, or whatever it is, that's all fruit-based kind of thing. So, like, for example, I had one client who was seeing good fruit in her life. She's like, I have more energy, and she had changed her diet. She decided to do an entirely fruitarian thing.
Holy shit.
And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like, I was curious to see her blood, and she was very confident.
And you have no protein?
Yeah, no. And she's like, I feel great, and like her blood was not great. Okay. So like that's one way where, like, she would say her appearance changed, her skin improved, she lost weight, all these things, like, obviously, but
right.
But like her blood was not really having it. So I think the way that I kind of reconcile that in my brain is, like, she probably ate the standard North American diet for years and years and years, and now she's eating more fresh things, so she feels better. But in 3 years, most likely she's not going to feel great based on her blood, right? And so that's one example. And the other piece there is emotional health. So I find it really interesting. I have a lot of, like, older, like, menopausal kind of age women come see me.
I think that's a lot of people who listen to this podcast as well. And a lot of my clients, menopause is, like, a huge thing in my office.
Yeah, okay. So this might be interesting to you ladies listening then, but I have a lot of your demographic coming in, lugging in 30 supplements that they take, and they're like, I'm doing all the things.
Yeah, here's my supplement list. This is what my naturopath says. Yeah, 100%.
And like, I do IV, and like they're doing all the things, massage, and I'm not eating gluten, and like all these wonderful things. I'm like, wow. And then I had this man who, like, eats McDonald's once a week, and, like, you know, he works out, but he's not, like, not the epitome of health.
Right.
And it was interesting because in my mind I'm comparing their blood, and I'm like, actually, these women who are, like, really obsessed with their health and their blood was worse than this dude who had a really thriving spiritual life, prays every day, is, like, worked on his emotions, you know? And I mean, there's still obviously things that I'm like, ooh, that's the McDonald's, but but generally, like, his blood was actually better than some of these ladies I see. And so that goes to show you that, like, from the outside, whether it's appearance, whether it's what you think you're doing with your actions, it doesn't always translate to the inside. And I think stress is, like, a really big thing. So if you're so stressed about having the perfect aesthetic, that's going to take a toll on your body. And I'm not saying there's not a place for that, but sometimes you can't have both. I think you can have both, but it's in terms of how you accomplish it. I think it's more sustainable to be working on your aesthetic goals alongside working on your inside, so that when you stop your diet, you stop counting your macros, you stop this particular plan, it doesn't just all change, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I the reason I'm asking is because in my life, like, some of the time where I've been the leanest, the fittest, what people would say, like, wow, she's so fit, I have been the least healthy. I know how many supplements I'm taking, I know how much caffeine I'm drinking, I know I'm running on nothing, I'm trying to stay awake to do school or do whatever and running on empty, but people would be like, wow, you look so fit, what are you doing, right? And I know for certain I'm not. So I'm like, there's got to be other people out there like me.
Yeah, I know, and that's a tough one. That's very, like, cultural, societal norm, right? And fair enough. We're not going to sit down with everyone we see and be like, how are you pooping? Like, you know, it's like,
that's your job.
Yeah, we just see the outside, and then we say things. I think one thing that's interesting is we got to be careful, like, what we just blurt out about people's appearance, right? Especially with weight. Like, if someone's trying to conceive and they have to gain a certain amount of weight, for you to be like, you've put on weight, or, like, you know what I mean? It's like, you never know what someone's going through. Maybe they're on a new medication, like, maybe they're just getting by, maybe they're pooping 18 times a day with Crohn's disease. Like, it's not on you to comment about that.
Absolutely. So, in general, just don't fucking comment on people's appearance in general. So, okay, so I guess this brings me to the next little segment here. On Sunday, I'm telling the viewers, it's Wednesday today. So on Sunday, I went in to see Josee. She took my blood, no pain, guys, finger prick, very simple, like 15 minutes of my time. And now you've had some time to go through my shit and come up with a little explanation for me what you saw. So I'm kind of nervous, kind of excited, but right now Josee's going to give me my results, and we're going to talk through them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So lay it on me thick, buddy.
All right, so like I mentioned with the liver stuff, that definitely came up for you. So one of the things I noticed is that you did have certain white blood cells that are often present with like a kind of a high toxic load. So heavy metals. So heavy metals are like in our water if you're not drinking filtered water, like medications, things that build up over time. And again, it's not about like completely avoiding everything toxic because we can't, but it's about supporting the liver. So your liver is stressed, and the other way I saw that was some misshapen cells. And so again, as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about kind of the misshapen cells and how the liver needs fat to kind of stay strong. Your cells look generally healthy in terms of like they were glowing, so I think you're getting enough fat, but with your liver being stressed, you might not be digesting fat optimally. So you might benefit from a digestive enzyme that helps break down that fat. You might benefit from castor oil packs. Have you heard of that?
Well, I've heard of castor oil, but not for my liver.
Not for labor. So it's actually like an external thing. So when you're inducing labor with castor oil, you're drinking it, right? But it's similar effect, but much more gentle on the outside. So a castor oil pack, you take some sort of flannel. I sell packs that actually just tie to you, so it's a lot easier. You put the oil on, you put it over your liver, and you wear it to bed. And that helps get things going. So like your skin will absorb it over your liver and then like kind of more gently get it going. Mind you, you should do it like multiple nights in a row.
I'm already in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Clear me out.
Start tonight. I don't you can do it on your period. I typically tell people not to do it on their period just because it can sometimes like make you bleed heavier. And not everyone loves that. It won't hurt you though. It can help with bloating, cramping. So you could actually do a castor oil pack anywhere, like over your bowels if you're constipated. You can do it over your thyroid if you have issues. But yeah, for you, liver.
So what kind of things, because immediately when people think liver, they think cirrhosis of the liver, drinking, things like that. So like, you said heavy metals, toxicity, like is that like cleaning products I use? Is that lotion? Is
all of it.
Bath and Body Works special?
That's the worst.
That's like my childhood. Not anymore. I'm like trying to clean up my act a little bit, but I would definitely say, I'm not someone who is really privy to monitoring those things, for sure. I'm using Windex on fucking everything.
Okay. Well, we'll start
I clean my counters with Windex.
So that type of thing, again, your body has kind of this threshold. So like you can handle a certain amount, right? What I like to say is make your home a safe place. So change over those cleaning supplies at home so that when you're out and about and you're walking down the aisle at Walmart and you're breathing in all the cleaning supplies, your body has that margin, that reserve to like fight back. When you're constantly like assaulting your system with toxicity, then at some point you're going to break. So right now you might feel healthy. I don't know, how are you feeling?
I feel, I mean, my mental health is shit right now. So physical health though I feel like is okay. I poop regularly. I work out every day. I drink 4 liters of water. I eat lots of proteins. I don't eat junk food. All of those things, the standards, that's just my lifestyle though.
So even the mental health piece, I'm not saying it's like 100% that, but your liver has to process your hormones too, and there's often a hormonal piece to mental health, so that could be one contributing factor, right? And I wonder if we improve your liver health, if that will maybe help a little bit with your mental health. So that's one thing. The other interesting thing.
There's more.
This one was kind of fun for me because I don't see it all the time. But when I looked at your blood, I was like, I remember I asked you, I was like, do you sleep with your phone near you? You were like, yes.
Shit.
Why? And so there is quite a few damaged cells in your blood that specifically looked like damage from electromagnetic fields from probably your phone, because I asked you, how often are you on it? Do you sleep with it? You're like, yep. So, if I honestly, it's worth the $30 to go buy an alarm clock. If anyone listening to this is using
that's my child, and she's way more than $30.
But there might be some people who are like, well, I use it as my alarm, so I have to have
it. That's an excuse.
Like, no, you don't. The other reason that might be, in someone's blood is like smartwatch on your body, and it's hard because with smartwatches it can really help you be motivated with fitness and other aspects of your health, but it's also damaging your cells. So it tracks your sleep, which is so fun to know how you slept, but it's really not the best long term.
Oh no,
I know you don't want to hear
that.
What
about AirPods? I wear an Apple Watch and AirPods probably 80% of the day.
And so that's probably why we're seeing that in the blood. And But you
Don't
know
give
what?
up my tech.
You know what? Like, it's not realistic to give that up if that's what you do. That's your job. That's how you live. And so what I would say to kind of combat that is you need to be more intentional about antioxidants to help fight, like, any free radical damage. So more fruits and vegetables. If you need to supplement with, like, a greens powder or something like that to just get, like, a power pack punch of nutrients, then that's fine. But that would be my suggestion to you.
My clients are like, no, you're us, Ashlyn. She's going to fucking tell you to take your greens and do your antioxidants and eat your fruit and vegetables. Like, isn't that my job?
Yeah. But the other thing would be just, if you can minimize it overnight, then that can be a really good thing for you too. You can get protective device protection, as well, like certain cases or stickers you can put on your phone that help to mitigate some of that. I'm not, like, super into crystals or rocks, but I know there are some rocks that do help with EMF stuff. So there's one really cool product called the Somavedic. You can look it up. It's like $1,000, I think, but it's like a home kind of EMF mitigator. So it actually has rocks inside of it, and it helps to kind of combat all those waves, because really it's not realistic to not have Wi-Fi. It's not realistic to not have phones. That's how we live. So it is just a matter of, like, hey, let's change your diet a little bit to incorporate being more intentional about antioxidants, and then there might be some, like, lifestyle things you can do. Don't sleep with your phone. Keep it outside the room. You'll probably sleep better too. Your mental health might.
So was my results with the EMF, like, worse than the other typical women that you see? Like, because I feel like everyone's on their phone. Everyone wears an Apple Watch. It's like, Ashlyn, this was enough that I had to tell you about it.
I can't lie,
shit! Don't lie. Tell me how it is.
Authentically Ashlyn, right?
Exactly.
Let's be authentic. Yeah, like, I have seen it before, right? But it's not something I see every day, whereas the liver stuff I usually do see every day. So yeah. People
are like, she's a liar. She's unhealthy alcoholic.
I know. I think, and that's, with the liver too, that's, like, the first thing everyone says to me is, like, oh, I do drink a little, that's okay. Like, drinking a little is okay.
What about weed? Just as bad? Marijuana smoking?
Again, there's actually certain things in the blood we'll see that are more, like, recreational drug related.
You didn't see any of those in there?
I actually didn't.
Oh, right, I'm thriving!
Yeah, so again.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But the weed, like, no. I don't drink, but I do smoke weed. So I was like, is that hard on my liver? Probably.
Yeah, it probably is. And again, like, if it's not something that you're willing to, like, give up completely because that's how you live, then being intentional about, like, okay, I'm going to castor oil pack.
Right.
I'm going.
While I smoke a doobie, I'm going to put my castor oil pack on. I'm like, I don't drink, but my new cover photo today for my podcast is me with 5 alcohol drinks in my face. I enjoy 1 or 2, but not enough to cause liver damage.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Dude, I feel terrible about the EMFs. I'm like, want to just take my watch off right now as we have, like, a computer in front of us, 2 lights, a watch, a phone. Like, is the computer the same?
I would say it's less so, because it's not as often, like, laptop, maybe it's on your lap, but it's less often that it's, like, on our body. We're very, like, I'm going to stick my phone in my bra. Do not do that.
Oh, shit, I do that, too.
Yeah, do not do that. Yeah.
Because I have no titties, so I can always slip it in there when I'm working out. It doesn't even fall out. Like, that was...
No. So, even that, right? Like, use your AirPods if you want, but, like, where can we minimize it? So, if you're having your AirPods and your phone, like, let's remove the phone. There are, like, Bluetooth headphones that you can get that have lower EMFs, but I don't know. If you're happy with your AirPods,
I love the AirPods.
Yeah. Just try to be more mindful of, like, do I need my phone in my pocket right now?
Right.
Or, can I keep it in my bag? Can I keep it in the car? Can I keep it somewhere else? Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else? I'm like, how shitty of a human am I?
So the other thing I saw that is interesting, because this one, based on, like, your diet and your exercise and all that, I think maybe is a little bit more emotional.
Okay.
Was that some of your cells were sticking together.
Okay.
And often I'll see that if someone's dehydrated, but you drink a lot of water, girl, so you're doing good there. The other piece of the hydration is you might need electrolytes. I'm sure you're probably already aware of that, to actually get your cells hydrated. But in terms of, like, that stuck togetherness, a lot of it is, like, are you feeling like you're just kind of holding everything together right now?
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's a big one. Like, if someone kind of has all their ducks in a row in terms of, like, nutrition, hydration, exercise, that, and they're pooping well too, then that is often like, ooh, like, you got a lot of stress in your life that you're just holding together, and you don't feel like you have the permission to just, like, let go.
Right.
So that's something where, like, hey, like, do some yoga, do some deep breathing is huge, right? If you think about, like, your stress levels too much, then you're probably very aware of, like, oh, I'm storing it in my body, and that's just one way we see it in the blood.
I'm storing it in my body, literally in my blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, oh, I don't store stress weight, you know? It's
right.
like, well, the other ways, like, that you store stress. Like, your
right.
organs hold on to trauma, right? So
yes.
there's things like, in the blood, with your blood sticking together, it actually, like, stress can change the charge of your cells. And you're a chemistry major, you
yes.
understand that. So when your cells change the charge, they'll stick together because they're supposed to be, like, you know, like magnets.
Yes.
Like, you can't.
Polar.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, anyway.
Okay, so if I came back for a secondary blood test, okay, Ashlyn, let's fight this.
Yeah.
Come back. What would be, like, your protocol in terms of, if you came back, are my cells, like, damaged for life? Is this a life sentence? Or is it, like, in 3 months from now, you can get those EMFs the fuck out of here?
Yeah.
Like, what's the follow-up?
I think, like, the cells that are damaged are gone, but your body's always making, like, new cells. So
right.
it's more about, like, okay, can I give my body what it needs and eliminate what it doesn't need to make sure that I'm producing, like, healthier, stronger red blood cells? Yes, you totally can do that. And with your liver, too, we might see some improvement. So castor oil pack, there's some homeopathics that you might consider, or, like, oral supplements, like capsules, milk thistle, dandelion tea.
Okay, I got those things at home.
Yeah. So you can do that for your liver. I usually start with homeopathics with the liver when people are showing signs of liver congestion in the blood, just because sometimes those kind of stronger, more potent herbs can be a bit harsher, right? And then you feel nauseated, you get migraines, and you might still get that with homeopathics, but they tend to, like, actually just drain stuff a little bit gentler.
Okay.
More gently.
Yes.
I don't know what the right English
Makes
there
sense.
is, but yeah, so that might be something to consider. And then how many vegetables are you eating per day, like cup-wise?
Honestly, not enough right now.
Yeah.
I eat lots of salads, especially in the summer. She's like, ooh, fresh stuff. And I just showed you my picture. I'm like, look at my sister has a garden. She gave me all this shit. But I would say not enough, because I know how much I should be eating. And a lot of times I'm like, oh, I'm bringing food to the office, so I'm just grabbing the chicken and the rice. I'm not creating a salad and then packing the dressing and bringing it all home, right? So I would say once a day I'm having a big, like, helping of vegetables, but it's not something that's happening consistently throughout my day.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. I always tell people to eat vegetables with breakfast, because, and if you're doing a shake or a protein smoothie or whatever, then add it in there.
Right.
If you're having a breakfast, like, there's nothing wrong with savory breakfast, you know?
Right.
Like, if you're gonna have eggs, like, make an omelet and throw a bunch of veggies in there, right? If you're gonna have toast,
I have coffee with Premier Protein.
Yeah, girl. Yeah.
Oh shit, not enough.
Yeah. So definitely that. And so that will really help your liver. The other thing with the liver would be if you're eating anything that you're sensitive to that you might not realize, like that's creating inflammation in your body, that could be another thing to look at removing. So like dairy is a really common one, which people don't like to hear, but it's true. And that's a whole other topic. But yeah, like trying to become aware. I do offer food intolerance testing through a lab in Ontario. So it's a prick of blood. We put it on kind of a testing card, and I ship it off to the lab, and then they get back to me. It tests over 200 foods. Wow. So that's a good way to do it too, because that could be another thing that's stressing your body, causing inflammation, putting stress on your liver.
Do you do that for kids?
Yeah.
I'm certain my kid has an intolerance, and I can't for the life of me figure out what it is.
Yeah.
But my one baby has like patches of eczema that come and go, so I'm like, something's causing this. And then my other kid does not shit. And like Western medicine says, give her mineral oil every day, give her Restorelax every day, and I'm like, I feel like I am just like constantly putting stuff in her body, and she's still not pooping. So maybe we need to come do that test.
Well, the test, how old is she?
She's 2.
Yeah, it's not super accurate for like young kids. Like I would probably suggest it after 4, but we could do her live blood. And we could see different indications, like maybe help target what probiotics, what supplements you could give her, and get her pooping. You can also do castor oil for babes.
She needs that. Me and her getting castor oil packs as part of our new routine at nighttime. Okay, so this feels like a free coaching session for me. So if I'm walking away from my coaching session after you went through my blood, what should be like my 3 takeaways? Like, Ashlyn, you need to castor oil pack would be one.
Castor oil pack would be one. Increasing your veggies would be another. Like, I'm gonna say let's aim for 5 cups of veggies a day.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So
and you're telling a nutritionist that.
Right. I know. But that's like, we need each other. We all have our strengths. Like, you're super good at the whole fitness end of things, right? And so your clients see results in a different sphere.
Yes.
So I'm giving you suggestions so that you see results in another sphere.
Absolutely.
And so, I would say 5 cups. If you do 1 cup with breakfast, 1 cup with lunch, and, 2 cups with dinner and 1 snack or something like that, it's actually quite easy to get it in. Smoothie is a great way to do it. You can throw 3 cups in.
Right.
And the other thing would be like try and rotate. Like some people are like, okay, I'll just throw spinach in my smoothie and eat spinach all day. And I'm like, okay, but like you need more than spinach.
Different nutrient
profiles.
I mean? Yeah, for sure.
That's
Eat the
my
rainbow.
suggestion. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So 5
Okay.
cups for you, castor oil pack, and then the phone situation is...
The situation.
Yeah, that situation. Yeah.
Okay, and so how long would you say it takes someone to see a change? So it's like, Ashlyn, if you do these 3 things, start eating your vegetables, get the castor oil pack from me, and don't sleep with your phone in the room. Like those 3 things. Would you say come back in a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? Like what does that usually look like?
Yeah, I mean, for you, I would say probably a couple months. Like,
okay.
You're pretty healthy overall. Your body will probably respond well. The things that we're working on are, like, you're creating new blood cells all the time. So if you remove the phone situation or improve that a little bit, we'll probably see improvement quickly. Some of the liver stuff might take a little bit longer.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's totally up to you. I would say, like, 3 months probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
My husband's going to be like, I told you so. I told you you're always on your phone.
Yeah.
But it is true. It is true.
There you go.
So I'm going to turn over and talk about cycle syncing.
Yeah.
The reason I want to talk about this is my audience probably knows, if they've listened to me before, I'm a huge proponent of women tracking their cycles. So I did an entire podcast, you guys, about this. It's episode 34, Become a Pro About Your Flow. So I won't go into too much depth about explaining to them the cycle. But I really do think if women are aware of their cycle, it can help them in terms of like their sex life, understanding their body, understanding how they should train, giving themselves grace as to why they may feel certain ways, all of those things, emotional, hormonal, all the things. So I'm curious, what's your take on cycle syncing and what exactly is cycle syncing?
Yeah. So cycle syncing is this concept of planning your life around your cycle, essentially.
Okay.
So that includes nutrition, it includes exercise, it includes like emotional things, timing out when you're going to travel, do hard things, have hard conversations, when you're going to journal, reflect. I definitely like the concept with clients. I try to talk more about cycle awareness because similarly to what we were already talking about, it's not always realistic to like be gung-ho about this.
Right.
Unfortunately, our world, our society, at least here in North America, is very much designed around like the male hormone cycle. You probably already talked about that.
100%. So true.
Yeah, but so like
what
people
male
need
hormone
to work
cycle?
sometimes, right? So it's like you need to work 9 to 5 because that's the job you have, and you can't. So it is more what you said about having the awareness to give yourself grace. Having the awareness to be like, oh, do I need to have this hard conversation today or could it wait a week when I have a bit more going for me, you know?
Yes.
So that's my approach. There's definitely different supplements you can take at different times. My most favorite thing to incorporate is seed cycling.
Okay.
So have you talked about that on here?
I haven't talked about it, but I understand what it is, but I want you tell everybody what seed cycling is.
Okay,
Yes.
so basically in different seeds, there's different nutritional components that break down and help bind excess hormones at different times in your cycle depending on the fluctuations. So first half of your cycle, assuming you have a regular cycle that's about a month.
Yep.
So first 2 weeks, you're going to do pumpkin seeds and flax seeds.
Okay.
And second half, you're going to do sesame and sunflower seeds. And again, this is something that's gentle, that's slow. People are like, it's not working, my hormones are still in balance. It's like, you got to give it a few months, right? And also working on some of the other components. But it's a really good way that I like to do it because it's yummy. Like you can eat seeds intentionally. You can make like power balls with seed butters. You can take the supplements too. Like I sometimes take pumpkin seed oil supplements because I'm like, I don't have time to make pumpkin seed butter, you know?
Right.
But so that's a really cool way to do it that over time you'll see there's other nutrition kind of like different proteins that are better at different times, different fats that are better at different times. I have an ebook that's available with recipes for each phase, so that could be helpful. And then in terms of the emotional piece, I think it really is huge and potentially liberating for people to have that awareness and be like, this is probably not the time to like talk to my husband about moving or like you know what I mean, like let's wait till I'm ovulating and feeling fine, put some lipstick on, which is today for me, so
are you ovulating right now?
I sure am.
Baby.
Don't wear lipstick during menstruation usually.
So let's kind of give people an understanding of the cycle. So if they haven't listened to my other podcasts, they don't really understand like when is ovulation, when is menstruation. We think because me and you are into this that we're like, oh well, people know 28-day cycle, day 14, like hello, but people don't because they keep telling me they don't. So let's take people back to like menstruation is day 1 to 5. You're actively bleeding.
It's different for everyone, but it's roughly around there, right? Like some people's cycles are shorter, some are longer, but roughly menstruation is when you're bleeding. Follicular phase is after between bleeding and ovulation. I think ovulation is the easiest way to start like tracking. Obviously menstruation, but like ovulation is when you're fertile. It's when you really want to like be doing your like heavier lifting, heavier training, all that stuff.
You want to have sex?
Yeah, let's go.
And like you can also, I know when you're trying to get pregnant, you can look at your discharge and it's supposed to look like egg whites. Like that.
So that's what I was going to say. So with ovulation, tracking that cervical mucus is the best way. And so actually tracking your cervical mucus throughout the entire month is something that can be really helpful. You can do basal body temperature as well. It's good. I don't find it as accurate as the cervical mucus. So charting that.
And what should the cervical mucus look like at different points in time?
Yeah, so it varies. Like it changes even postpartum, pregnancy you don't have a cycle, but obviously you have discharge and different things.
Too much.
Yeah.
So much wetness down there.
Yeah, and it's hard. Like ovulation, like the phase of ovulation could be a week, but your peak is only one day. That's when you're like most fertile, right? And so that's going to be the day where you feel the most slippery. And so the only way you're going to know what that is if you track all of it, because you could be wet for 2 weeks and be like, when did I ovulate? It's the day looking back at your charting that you're like, oh, that's the day I was walking around and I was like, woo, and then the next day it changed and I noticed it, right? So there's different tools out there, different apps where you can track that. Different coaches, like I had an ovulation coach when I was trying to get pregnant who helped me like learn this. So
wow, cool.
That's out there. That's a resource. If anyone wants info, I can give you their information. But so ovulation would be kind of a really good way to start learning about your cycle.
Okay.
I think one of the unfortunate and challenging pieces when people are trying to learn about their cycle is a lot of people's cycles are impacted by either medications or birth control or different things, and so it's hard to know where you're at.
And how does birth control affect that?
That's like a whole other episode.
I know, but I'm like, I just need people to know.
Yeah, no, it really does affect that. One way that it would do that is that liver stress as well, because it is something that your liver is processing over time. Some people are on this for years and years and years, right? And not learning how to detox properly. So then that builds up, and again, your liver filters out all your hormones, so then you're going to have imbalance. So you have people who are not taking birth control, but were on it for 10 years.
Yes.
And they're like, well, my cycle's whacked. And it's like, well, let's actually work on teaching you about the phases of detoxification, teaching you how to eat for that, how to support your liver, and then hopefully we'll see some improvement.
Then we'll work on your cycle.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
so when someone's like actively bleeding, they're in menstruation, what would be like the tips, like the general, like this is maybe things you could do to feel better during that phase, and then the next phase kind of do these things?
Yeah, I think like
I know it's general advice.
Lot of grace.
Yeah.
When you're menstruating is like give yourself grace. If you happen to have your own business or have flexible work, that's like a really nice time to like take a couple days off or have a long weekend or have like less, like for me, I'm outgoing, but I'm introverted. So when I'm menstruating and in my late luteal phase, I try to take an extra day off, or I try to do more work at home where I'm not like with clients because I'm not as happy.
Right, for sure.
And I'm more tired and my brain isn't sharp. So yeah, that would be one thing. In terms of like nutrition wise is give yourself grace. Like a lot of people have a lot of guilt around like, ooh, I binged.
I'm so fucking hungry on my period.
It's like, don't deprive yourself, because that's also a big reason why we see hormonal imbalance. Is like you actually need more nutrients, and it's okay if you're a little puffier. It's okay if you're a little bit bloated. Like I don't think bloating long term is normal, but you got a uterus, you got stuff in there.
Yeah,
that
shit's happening.
Have, right? And it's natural for it to be swelling. Castor oil pack can be helpful, like at the end of your menstruation. Again, I don't typically tell people to do it when you're like bleeding heavy, because it can
just keep
stimulate more,
right?
Which isn't bad necessarily, but it's kind of annoying
for sure.
And then like I don't know, chocolate's nice.
Yeah, right.
Is
there a reason that people crave chocolate on their period?
Yeah, totally. Magnesium. Yeah, magnesium for sure.
So you're not going crazy, girlies.
No. And like and within reason. I mean, I would say still have boundaries with your nutrition. Don't go nuts, but choose healthy dark chocolate. You can get ones that are even sugar free now, dairy free. Like there's so many options where you actually don't need to feel any guilt. I would say stock your like pantry, like prep stuff when you're feeling good, like early luteal phase when things are starting to kind of drop, like start getting things ready so you make better choices when you're having that huge hormonal fluctuation. You're like, I just want all the chips,
right?
And you have like some healthy snacks that you've prepared.
So when someone's going through menstruation, their progesterone and their estrogen are dropped, right? So that's why it's tanked. So that's why you feel like shit, guys. That's why you feel like an introvert. That's why you don't want to be super outgoing. But on the flip side to that, after menstruation, we start going through the follicular phase. So the hormones start coming back.
Yeah.
So during that phase, what would you recommend?
Yeah. So like starting to, I don't know, that's like my favorite time to like get stuff done. It kind of reminded me of like late pregnancy where you're like nesting.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna do stuff. I'm gonna clean my house. I'm gonna get this project done.
Totally.
I would just like keep in mind that it's a slow rise of the hormones. So don't be like, okay, I'm done bleeding. I'm gonna like hammer out all this stuff. It's be gentle with yourself there, but good time to like I don't run when I'm on my period, but like follicular phase, I'm like, yeah, I want to go for a run and like training more.
Yes.
Like menstruation for me is more like yoga, stretching, walks, like baths, like sweating in the sauna or whatever, right? But yeah, so that's a good time to like kind of amp up your exercise a little bit, prep for ovulation, and a good time to start planning for, this is kind of one piece, harder conversations, like if you have to confront someone about something or something like that, it's a good time to start planning for that and try and time it around ovulation.
Yes.
So you're probably not going to take things as personally.
Ovulation is the sweet spot. I call it like summer, because I like to look at the period cycle as essentially seasons, right? So winter times you're bleeding, springtime things are getting better, you're getting your shorts out, you're like, okay, fuck yeah, let's do this. And then summer comes and it's quick and it's hot and it's steamy and we have all the energy, and then obviously following ovulation would be our luteal phase, right?
Luteal for sure. Like if you know, it's good to tell your partner about your cycle because it can really help relationally. Like my husband has my cycle in his phone, and he's like, last month I had a bit of a mental breakdown, and he was really kind to me and everything, and he just gently said like, hey babe, like you're in your luteal phase. I'm like, you're right. Like, and you know what I mean? That's like, it's really helpful. Yeah. So yeah, I would say
most women don't even know they're in their luteal phase. Not mind their husbands knowing. Yeah.
But the night that you're like, I just want chocolate and wine and to watch Netflix and not to talk to anyone, you're probably in your luteal phase. Like luteal is often more intense than even menstruation, because menstruation is like the beginning of something new. Like you're letting it go.
Finally coming out.
Like it's day one, right?
Yeah.
That the end of the days there can be rough.
Right.
So,
so like day, I don't know if we're putting it on a timeline, like
25
to 28.
Yeah, totally.
So don't plan shit for that time.
Yeah.
That's like the season. We're kind of going, if we're talking seasons, from ovulation into luteal right now in life, right? Like we're kind of ending summer, we're going into fall. Put the Ugg boots on, get a pumpkin spice latte, let's hibernate. Like everyone feels those vibes, I think. Like we're coming into that routine.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Okay, sister. So I feel like that's all the questions I have on cycle syncing, but if anyone else has other questions, I'm hoping that they can connect with you and ask. So what would be your follow-up? So people are listening like, fuck, I want to know more about my cycle, or I want to book a blood analysis. How does that work? Do people have to become your client? Can they book with you online? Kind of sell me on you a little bit.
Yeah, so I do blood analysis for clients. Typically I don't do like one-offs just because it's really hard to walk with people and see improvements. So initial consultation is an hour and a half, and we go over like a whole health history. Reason being, when I look at your blood, I can be more articulate about why it's going on. And then we make a targeted protocol that includes supplements, dietary stuff, sometimes lifestyle things, but largely nutrition stuff. So that's kind of what I do there. And then follow-ups, I like to see my clients usually every month for the first while, just to like make sure that they're feeling supported, that they're on track, and then I'm totally available over email all the time.
Awesome.
And then follow-ups after that just depends on the person, their goals, and like sometimes I see whole families, so it's kind of like something people will be like, I'm just gonna book twice a year forever to like stay on track.
Yeah, that's nice.
So that's that.
And do you have anything like up and coming, exciting in your business? Like I know we talked just about cycle syncing and about blood analysis today, but what else is there available that maybe people are like, I'm not into those two things, but what else can you offer me?
Yeah, like gut health is kind of my big thing.
Okay.
So I have Gut Healing Academy. I'm running a group right now, and then as of January, this is kind of the first time I'm announcing this, so it's going to be an e-course that anyone can access at any time. So then you can go through the process. You can still email me for support, but it's like all self-guided recipes, protocols, supplements. It's essentially like an elimination diet to give your body a break and then reintroduce things and get the awareness of what's kind of creating issues. We do guided liver detox.
I need
recipes. Yeah. So that's one thing. And the other like most exciting thing that's taking up like 80% of my time right now is I'm starting an online store. So it's going to be like health food, supplements, hard to find items from the States, from Australia, stuff like that. So that's launching October 1st, and you can find what you want to buy there.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thanks.
So people can find it on your online store. How do they find you online? Drop me your Instagram handle or your website or anything like that.
Yeah, Roots and Fruits Wellness on Instagram and rootsandfruitswellness.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Guys, I will also include that in the show notes. And thank you, Josee. I feel like you just filled me with so much information, so much knowledge. It's a good dynamic of the podcast to have like actual, some, knowledge and not just banter. So I really appreciate that. So thanks you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys, for joining us on another episode of the Authentically Ashlyn Podcast, and I will catch you in the next one. Ciao! Ciao, world!